This video is powered by the pros at Pascal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPascal.com.
Mike Irwin from Pig Trail Nation here on a day after the Super Bowl. Mike, you got that Super Bowl glow all over you after last night. It was a great game.
Yeah, you couldn't ask for a better game. Really fun to watch. Go into overtime. Kind of wanted the Niners to win. Hated to see Greenlaw go out the way he did. I really think the game was decided toward the end of regulation when the Niners got down close enough, and I think they had a 4th and 3 maybe, and decided to go ahead and kick the field goal, which logic dictates you do that. But I just said to myself, Mahomes is going to come back and win this thing with a minute, 2 minute and a half, however many was left, 2 minutes, whatever. And they didn't. It went into overtime, but then the same thing happened again. They got 49ers go down, they're forced to kick a field goal, and then the second time you're not going to get away with that. And, I mean, Mahomes was just brilliant on that final drive. I mean, he did it all. I mean, they had one thing that does when you don't take the ball, when you don't go on defense first, you put yourself at a disadvantage, I think, and I don't know why that decision was made, because when San Francisco had the ball, there's no 4th down option there. You just got to go for it. And like that 4th down situation, and I remember thinking about all those times that Arkansas went out of the shotgun on 4th down and people were complaining. Nobody was complaining, when the Chiefs did that. And, I mean, look what Mahomes did. He just looked and then found an opening and went through it. And he was just brilliant. I mean, he's sort of become the next Tom Brady. I mean, he's still got a ways to go to be what Brady was, but he's getting closer.
Yeah, I was surprised too, Mike, that in Shanahan's afterwards, what he said was he was wanting to get to the 3rd possession in overtime. My thought would be, you're not getting the ball back. Once Patrick Mahomes what makes you think you're going to get a 3rd possession with the greatest quarterback right now in the game? And that was it. That he had a chance to do it, and he got it done. Yeah,
I mean, in the end, that's what it came down to. And I will say, too, and this is just me being prejudiced, I guess, but I really feel like if Greenlaw had been in that whole game, there would have been a stop, an interception, a fumble recovery, a critical hit to force a punt. Something would have happened in the course of that game that might have changed the whole thing. Maybe one less field goal for the Chiefs, whatever. So it really hurt, and it was such a freak thing. It looked like to me I think he was over anxious trying to get out on the field. He took that first step, and you could see it. He stepped so far that his head went down. It was almost like he was trying to sneak out onto the field, and then he realized, whoa, my head's down, and he tried to stand up before he took off, and he stretched that leg too much, and he just popped that Achilles tendon.
I hate that for him because that's how, until the next thing in his career that happens, that's what he ends up getting remembered for. He's done great things in his NFL career. I mean, he made a tackle that won San Francisco the West Division championship a couple years ago. That was his tackle. That's also something that he'll be remembered for. But the whole world is watching. I mean, he'd made some plays up until that injury. I mean, he really looked like he could have been a star in the game. It's just, I hesitate to use this word in certain situations because we get over dramatic about it, but not in this situation. That was tragic, what happened to Dre yesterday.
Yeah, and people have said to me, well, how can a football player in the kind of shape they're in be injured like that? I mean, it just happens. Those tendons and ligaments, you don't strengthen them. You strengthen muscles. Those are what they are. And if you happen to overstretch it, and I think by trying to go back up, bring his head back up before he unstretched that leg, he just subconsciously, it was a strange movement that happened, and it just, you think about all the things you do and play in a football game and practice and all this, and you don't have an injury like that, and then just running out on the field can do it, but it just happens sometimes that way.
Yeah, Kansas City didn't have a 1,000-yard receiver this year, 15 points a game. Spags, I mean, that defense, this was definitely a defensive-led team. Hey, Mike, would you, if you're San Francisco and you got all these all-pros on this team, Where do you rank Brock Purdy right now? Do you think he's better than Dak Prescott? Where do you have him in the NFC? Would you pay Brock Purdy to keep him there if you're the 49ers?
Jeez, I don't know. He was okay. You know, I thought the Chiefs really did a good job disguising their blitzes. That's when they really messed him up, is when they kind of came and he didn't see the blitz coming as quickly as it did. But I probably would, you know. I don't know. I'm glad I don't have to make those decisions. I look at silly things like Kelsey, man. I mean, he look, the thing where he pushes Andy Reid, that's pro football. That stuff happens. That didn't bother me, and Reid said it wasn't a big deal. What bothered me was the dude can't sing, guys. After the game, he gets up there and sounds like a bull moose that got shot in the butt with salt or something. He's dating the most famous singer in the world, and he sounds like that. I don't know. If I'm her, I'm going, I'm dumping this guy and find me a quarterback that can sing.
Oh, that's all right. She can't play football. It all works out in the end for both of these people here.
Another thing that I heard Phil and Mike was Spags was the D coordinator for the Giants when they beat the best team ever, beating the New England Patriots, that team that had a chance to go undefeated.
Didn't he have a chance? He's been a head coach before, hasn't he?
If I'm Kansas City, that's the number one priority in the offseason. Chris Jones and Steve Spagnuolo.
Yeah, well, if they want to continue, you can't just be. You can't rest where you're at. You're constantly trying to get better, but they are approaching, dynasty type situation. Maybe they're already there. And I mean, I like them. I like watching them. This particular game, it was just a Greenlaw thing, but it wasn't that bad for me to see them. It was just a fun game to watch. That was the main thing. I just didn't want it to be a dud. I've seen so many Super Bowls where you're, snoring halfway through. So. It was a great game.
That's why I was so happy that Arkansas played well on Saturday against Georgia. Mike, I mean, think of how many games you've watched this year, specifically in SEC competition, which it has literally been the word you just mentioned, a dud, and it wasn't even worth watching after the first 5 minutes. Now, they kept you on the edge of your seat, both in good and bad ways, but I'm just happy they won a game. I don't care how it happened. If they won the game 2-1, I think I'd have been pretty happy with it because losing sucks.
They had a decent crowd for that game. And Georgia's a lower half SEC team. I think they're better than probably most fans realize. And they played their tails off. They played a really good. That's what impressed me, was that Arkansas played. It's not like Missouri, which kind of blew up there in the second half. They played a team that played really well and came back and could have won. They took the lead with a couple of minutes to go. People complain about Devo, said he didn't do much. He got that assist to Mitchell that gave them the lead for good. He had 2 steals, I think. He had 4 rebounds. I think the biggest thing was he resisted the temptation. Okay, I'm back. I got to take over. You probably can't do that when you've missed, several games. So I thought he played well. I don't know what happens from here on out. They at least are still alive for an NIT bid, and people may hate that, but as long as they're playing, I think there's a difference between what you see on the internet when people that actually watch the game or go to the games, because, again, that place would have been half full if everybody had given up. I mean, people are not stupid. They know this team's not going to the NCAA tournament, but they still want to see them play.
That's one of the things. I haven't seen a lot of lack of effort on this team. I was impressed with Ellis and Mark. Ellis, Mike, it says a lot when you can stay sharp and you can keep your head up when you go 2 or 3 games as a healthy scratch, and then all of a sudden your number's called, and I thought he played well.
Yeah, the word is he's gone back and forth with Musselman on some issues. I don't know. We're not there, so I don't know if that's true. But, he sits out some and then he's back. But I agree with you. I mean, it doesn't matter when it happens at this point. If he's back and he can help win, who knows? I mean, they got a huge challenge coming up on Wednesday night. That's going to be interesting to see. I just like to see him play Tennessee well, battle them rather than just getting blown out.
Baseball starts on Friday, Mike. I'm not breaking news to you. You're well aware of this. Somebody keep getting asked, is this a team that can hit for higher average? Now, you kind of expect every year Arkansas has guys that'll hit the ball over the fence. They're going to smack him into the gap. But strikeouts have been an issue at times, certainly against very good pitching. That's been a problem. Now, they didn't lose in the regional last year because of hitting. It's just they couldn't stop TCU from scoring. But if there's been kryptonite to the Arkansas baseball team at times, it's been a lineup that can be a little bit inconsistent. Baseball will do that to you, but there's something about the makeup of the lineup right now that to me looks like they might have the ability to be a little bit more consistent, and maybe I just might be hoping here 5 days before we get it going.
Well, and then you bring up that complaint that some fans have where they say Nate Thompson stresses the launch angle too much, trying to hit home runs. So you get runners on second and third with one out, and the next two guys strike out because they're trying to hit home runs. I haven't seen a lot of that in these scrimmages, maybe a little bit. They just look like they've got a diverse lineup with a lot of different people that can do different things. The thing that affects baseball a lot, Phil, and you know this, because there's a lot of injuries in baseball, and they've already had one, and it seems like they always do. But when you can replace, one guy with somebody that's about as good as he is, and when I started looking at every one of these infield positions, there's somebody back behind them that's at least in the preseason looked pretty good too. So you got a Stovall that goes out, you got a Peyton Holt. Somebody told me that DVH had said, there's a little bit of difference there defensively. Well, I still remember that one game, I think it was LSU, where Holt made that decision at second. He gets the ball from short, get the runner at second. He looks to first and realizes he can't pull off a double play, but he sees the runner over at third that had gone to third too far off the bag, and he throws over there and throws him out. That was an amazing play and awareness by a guy that didn't start playing until, I guess, May of last year. So they've got diversity. They got all these guys at catcher. They've got some diversity in the outfield. You just think there's options there. If somebody's not doing what they need to do, or if they get hurt, DBH can go to a backup.
Irrespective of anything that goes on the team, fan base needs this baseball season to be good. It has not been a really great start, first half of this athletic calendar. So, look, you got other sports that are coming up here too. Women's basketball right now, they look like they're on the bubble for the tournament. Softball might be really good. Gymnastics might be really good. Baseball's the one that everybody's going to kind of lean on in the spring. And if they don't have if baseball doesn't live up to the hope and expectations, you'll look back at this year as just a huge disappointment overall.
I even ran into some people that were mad about softball because they won those first four games, but they got into that game with Penn State. You get into extra innings, you get to put the courtesy runner on second in extra innings. And so, they successfully bunted the runner over to third, and then the next two strike out. And then, Penn State does the same thing, but they bunt their runner over and promptly get a base hit. And it's like, okay, you're not hitting in critical situations. And that's one game. But it was like, I hope this doesn't happen to baseball. People are at the point where even one game can get them freaked out a little bit.
BetOnline is your number one source for all your betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts.